So during the SBC Annual Meeting in Indianapolis, I was perusing around like everybody else, and I saw this race car in the middle of the floor, and I approached the booth, and this nice guy started chatting with me about the ministry. So I asked him, would you give me an interview? And he told me, yes, of course. So I brought my lights, cameras, and I did this quick setup. And this is part of my interview with Huffman.
So I got into racing, started going to the racetracks when I was 6 years old with my family. Got hooked from day one. And actually the first night that we were there, a guy by the name of Robert Huffman won the race. We shared the same last name, so I kind of got excited. And so we started going every week, and I knew real quickly that I wanted to be able to be a race car driver. And so when I turned 20, I started racing go-karts when I was younger, but then when I turned 20, bought my first race car, and we went to the racetrack. So from 2000 to 2006, I did a lot of racing. I was involved in church, but was really just a good church attender. But the bad thing is that racing became my God. It's what I ate, breathed, slept. It's what I worshiped. I would go to church. I was in church every time the church doors were open. I was helping with youth and music and sound and all of that stuff. But really at the end of the day, it was all about a checklist of trying to do enough to make God happy enough that He would allow me to pursue my passion. And unfortunately, that passion became more important to me than God was. So the breaking point of realizing that Christianity was more than a religion, it was more than a checklist, it was more of a list of do's and don'ts, and that it was actually about a relationship. That breaking point came on a night that we actually destroyed our Pro Ford mini stock. And we ended up, I got spun out, got T-boned. It took 2 wreckers to pick the car up to take it to the pits and put it on our trailer. And I remember sitting in my shop that Saturday night, Sunday morning, and just honestly yelling at God. I was mad because the one thing that I had worked my whole life to be was a race car driver. And I was getting some breaks and had some opportunities. And so the one thing that I was really passionate about was sitting in a pile of metal. And as I'm sitting in my shop yelling at God, saying, God, I've done all this stuff for you, and God, I even got God on the rear bumper. I go to church, I do all this stuff, and God, you just destroyed my future. And it was in the next few moments that really I heard God, probably the loudest and clearest I've ever heard Him in my life. And the question was, really, where am I really at in your life? Yeah, okay, big deal. You got God on the rear bumper. But where am I at in your heart? Where am I at in your life? And it was that started the moment of the transition of going from a checklist Christian to a relationship with Jesus. The racing that we started doing was mini stocks at Hickory Motor Speedway, North Carolina. Progressed from there to Pro 4s, to where God got my attention in 06. In 06, I sold everything I had. Walked away from racing, quit my job, and went to a Bible college in Hendersonville, North Carolina called Fruitland Bible College. Never thought I would ever drive a race car again, thought I was done. In 2011, God dropped a limited late model in my lap and gave me an opportunity to rebuild this ministry. Beforehand, I raced just to race, trying to use God's name. But now it's more, when we restarted, the vision was to be able to use racing to share the gospel, to do ministry, not to use the ministry to be able to go racing. And so when we started in limited late models, NASCAR limited late models. In 2015, we purchased our first late model super truck, which is what's behind me. And then we've just hit the ground running. So since 2015, we've had a chance to win multiple races, a bunch of pole awards, 2 track championships, as well as a Southeast Super Truck Championship just last season. So we've got 2 trucks now. We had a truck and a late model. We sold the late model last year to be able to buy the second truck. And the goal is to be able to have one truck that we can use for like the Southeast Truck Series, one we can use for the NASCAR Truck Series, but also one that we can have to be able to take with us to do events, whether it's church events, school events, community events, and stuff like that. you know, anybody can be a dad. Anybody can help contribute to bringing someone into this life, into this world. But I believe that God has called us as men to not just be men, but to be biblical fathers, to be biblical men. And, you know, there's a lot of students, especially that I talk with and work with, that they hear this concept of a father and a father that loves them. And they really don't want to have anything to do with it because they've never experienced a biblical father. And, you know, so a biblical father is someone that is seeking after God, that is leading their family in worship, in Bible studies, in seeking God and pursuing that relationship with Christ. There's a lot of men that have either walked out on their families or just are not leading in the way they should be. And I've been blessed. I've had a great father in my life. I've got a great set of parents. My mom and dad they're amazing. But the impact that my father has made in my life in being there for me and teaching me so many different things in life, you know, and it's a biblical father has to be someone that is pointing, you know, they have a huge responsibility to point their children, this precious soul, to God, to Christ, and into that personal relationship with Jesus. You know, as I reflect on where our nation currently is and the issues that we're facing, you know, whether it's social issues, leadership issues, a lot of the issues that I see most of the time, and the students that I deal with that struggle the most of the time do not have a father in their lives. You know, whether it's a father that has passed away, you know, at an early age, or it's a father that's just not a part, have walked away. God created the family for a reason. He created it to be a mother and a father and a strong, loving man that could raise up their children. And in the society that we have now, we miss a lot of that. There's, you know, moms are amazing. And God has equipped them in a way that I myself could never do what a mom can do. But it's the same with a father. You know, when that father figure is missing, the lack of structure, the lack of integrity, the strength there is gone. So getting to know abiding fathers and what their mission statement and their vision is really exciting. It's been a great learning opportunity for me to hear and see the passion that abiding fathers has to not just change lives, but to truly pour into biblical models of what does it really mean to lead a family and to lead their sons and daughters into being the men and women that God has created them to be. So I'm excited to hear what Abiding Fathers is doing, and as they travel the country and the world even, to raise up men that will be the fathers that God has created them for, to raise up the students that God has entrusted them with. What I try to convey to students, and what I would tell myself, if I could go back to when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, if I could tell myself one thing, it would be to keep God first. Keep God first in everything I do, including racing, including whatever that sport may be. But also pursue that with all of your heart, because I believe that God has equipped us, each of us, with a gift, a love, and a passion that only we have, and only we can. If we truly can grasp onto that and keep it in perspective, keep God first, that love second of whatever that passion is, if we can do that, then we can go further than our imagination could ever take us. So we are at the 2024 Southern Baptist Convention Annual Meeting in Indianapolis, Indiana. And it's been an amazing journey to get here. I wasn't coming up until about 3 weeks ago. And leading up to that, I'd really been praying over the last few weeks and months had kind of gotten a dead spot, just feeling I know that God is calling me to do ministry and do ministry full time. But I've been so scared to take that leap and walk away from my full-time job to pursue full-time ministry with NCN. And so I was praying through all of those things, and that Wednesday morning was a very pivotal morning, as I'm like, okay, God, I need to know that I'm still on the right path. Will you give me a sign and a direction, just open a door that will allow us to be able to further our ministry so we can glorify you? that afternoon I got a text message from a friend of mine, David, and he asked me if we would be willing, any way possible, we could bring one of our race trucks to the convention to be in the Indiana Baptist State Convention's booth. So here we are. My name is Alan Huffman. I am the president and main speaker for NCN Ministries.